BoCo is one of the most versatile diesel engines on the NWR. He works primarily on Edwards branch line, pulling goods and passengers with ease, though he often helps out on the main line as well. He is a kind and friendly engine and likes to be kept busy for the Fat Controller. It was a cold winter's day on Sodor, and everything was covered with snow and frost. BoCo was hauling a load of steel pipes from Brendam to Wellsworth. When he arrived at the station, he found Edward there, looking very serious.
Hello, Edward. What's up?
Station masters informed me and my crew that there's going to be a huge ice storm coming tonight, so we're all going to have to finish our work as quickly as possible before it hits. He says it's going to be a fierce one.
Blimey, that sounds dangerous.
Right. We'll collect our last goods train of the day and come straight back here. Looks like I'll need to turn on the heat tonight.
Right you are, driver. I'll see you later then, Edward, and thank you for the warning.
Take care, BoCo. Edward was right. Sure enough, that night the ice storm came and it started to howl and rage across the island. The freezing rain pelted down. The engines were glad to be warm and safe in their sheds, but they were worried. BoCo and Edward, who were stationed at Wellsworth Yards, watched the storm anxiously from inside their shed.
Goodness gracious! I've never seen the storm this vicious before, and I've seen other foul weather that were much worse than this.
I'm just glad we're all safe in here, but I sure hope everyone else is okay. I'm more worried about the residents of Sodor. Driver told me that most ice storms can cause significant damage to power lines, leaving people without electricity.
Well, let's hope that they can make it through this storm, alright?
The next morning, the whole island was covered in a thick, icy coat. The countryside was frozen hard, and icicles hung from stations, bridges, and water columns. Surprisingly, the tracks weren't affected by the inclement weather, but the worst was not over. In Suddery, the capital of Sodor, the townsfolk were facing a major crisis. The ice storm had caused a significant amount of damage to most of the power lines, leaving the town without a source of heat and electricity. Various contacts were made to the power company of Peel Godred, but even then it was uncertain how long it will be until the power is fixed. Everyone was getting anxious. In the town hall, a few members of the Sodor Island Council, including the mayor of Sodor, were discussing the situation.
What are we going to do? We need to find the source of energy that could heat up our town. The residents would feel cold if we don't think of something fast.
Yes, it's too bad we don't have a generator as a backup that could provide power. It could make things easier in emergencies like this.
You know, come to think of it, I've actually read about a similar incident that happened once in Canada a few years ago. They had to rely on a diesel engine to power the city's electricity after an ice storm too. Even other engines were used as a source of energy before in the past, like on the now former Mid-Sodor Railway.
My good man, you have just given me an excellent idea that could help solve our problem. I'll speak to Sir Topamat immediately.
So the mayor went to speak with the Fat Controller in his office and explain everything. Given what's happening right now, it's definitely worth a shot. Don't you worry, Mr. Mayor. I know just the engine who might be suitable for the task. Meanwhile, BoCo was at Crosby Station with a goods train. He had stopped to get refueled. As his driver was putting the hose away, the station master walked up.
Leave your train here, please. There's an emergency up at Suddery, and the Fat Controller says you're to help.
Yes, sir, but who will look after my trucks?
Neville will be along in a minute to fetch them. Hurry now.
And without hesitation, BoCo was uncoupled and he set off for Suddery as fast as he could.
I wonder what all the commotion is about and why they need my help for.
Beats me, old boy. But something tells me we'll find out soon enough.
When BoCo reached Suddery Station, he did indeed found out. There was Douglas standing there with the breakdown train and some workmen, along with the Fat Controller and the Mayor of Sodor. "Ah, BoCo, glad you could make it."
Yes, sir, but what's going on here, if I may ask?
We're in a bit of an awkward situation, as you can see. Our power supply has been completely cut off from last night's storm, and now the people are freezing cold without electricity or heat.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Mr. Mayor, but how could I be of assistance?
We're glad you asked, BoCo, because that's where you come in to help out, as the mayor and I have agreed to have you stationed here as a source of energy to heat up the entire town for a few days until the power lines are fixed. We'll slowly drive you down the road for a few meters towards the town hall. There, we can use the electrical generator as well as a few heaters to ensure that we have enough power to keep everyone warm.
Yes, sir, but what would happen if my engine suddenly stops working, given that it is cold after all?
Don't worry. If this happens, we will provide a backup with either Bear or Derek to come and help. Right now, the townsfolk need you.
All right then, sir, I'll try my hardest.
Before long, BoCo was lifted off the rails and onto the road. His driver carefully pulled the throttle and drove him slowly along towards the town hall. It felt a little awkward for the big green diesel. He was not used to driving on the road, and his wheels carved deep grooves into the tarmac as he crawled along.
Oh, I don't like this.
We're almost there, BoCo. Don't worry.
At last, BoCo reached the town hall safely and was placed into a special grid closest to the main building. Everyone carefully went over the planning stages to ensure enough power was needed for municipal buildings and emergency services. Within 2 hours later, cables were fastened to BoCo's engine. "Right, we're all set!"
Wonderful. Do your best, BoCo. We are relying on you.
Don't worry, Mr. Mayor. I won't let you or the transfolk down.
BoCo's driver started his engine, and with a responding will, BoCo roared into life. Everyone watched and stirred. Slowly, one heated shelter was switched on, then another, and then another. Soon the entire town was lit up again. The residents cheered and clapped while BoCo continued to generate more power. Bugger that frigid cold! My wheels wouldn't stop skidding when I tried to brake at the station, and I'm nearly frozen to the frames. At least it's warmer inside here.
You think you're feeling cold right now, Gordon, but think of the people that don't have warm fireboxes like us. They have to endure that icy weather the most.
Percy's right. Just wait till you see what's happening on TV right now. What do you mean exactly? We are coming to you live on the southeastern part of Sodor's Peninsula. It's just in. The people of Suddery have got an unlikely source of electricity after last night's severe ice storm had knocked down most of the power lines. As you can see here behind me is NWR D2, formerly BR Class 28 Metropolitan Vickers Diesel Electric Type 2, number D5702, hard at work, producing roughly 895 kilowatts of power at a sheer maximum of around 1,200 horsepower.
Great Grizzly! Is that BoCo? Okay, your eyes are not deceiving you, big man. I was there with the cranes to help with the operation.
Oh, I do hope he's okay. He probably had to stay out there in the cold for a while helping out those poor people.
Still, for what I know, he's doing an honorable deed for what's needed. We should all be very thankful for him on a job well done. All the other engines agreed. As Emily predicted, BoCo had to stay for a few days out in the open to power the entire town of Suddery. It was tiring work, but he was determined not to let everyone down and worked very hard. During this time, he drew quite the attention. People would often stop by to marvel at the most unusual sight and take photographs of him so he didn't feel lonely. Eventually, within just about a week later, the power was restored and everything went back to normal. By then, BoCo was looking exhausted. After all the hard work he put into, his gearbox and chassis felt very sore. The Fat Controller and the Mayor of Sodor arrived to see him.
We can't thank you enough, BoCo, for your splendid effort these past few days. Our people were very grateful for your help and gave all their blessings. You must be very proud of him, Sir Topham.
Yes, indeed. Thanks to you, BoCo, everyone was able to pull through this difficult crisis and be warm again. I am so glad to have a really useful engine like you for the job.
Thank you, sirs. Although, it would be nice to be back on my rails again.
I know. And that is why I am sending you to the diesel works to not only have your gearbox and chassis mended, but to give you a well-deserved overhaul, as well as a few modifications installed for other important uses. BoCo was so proud he didn't know what to say. Later, he was taken by lorry to Wellsworth Yard, where Edward was waiting to escort him by rail to the diesel works. Well, BoCo, I guess you'll be glad to get back to working order again.
I am, Edward. I will say it's no fun being out in the cold, but for the people who need our help, it was worth being useful standing by.
I couldn't agree more. People are a main priority for our railway, and helping them through harsh times like this is a valuable sacrifice in times of need. Come on, let's get you to be mended. And Edward puffed away while BoCo smiled knowingly.